Hello, and welcome to my channel. This audio is a narrated reading shared with fellow novel lovers. All rights belong to the original author and publisher. No copyright infringement is intended. If you enjoyed this chapter, please like and subscribe for more chapters. Now, let's begin. A Lady's Tranquility. Story of Kunning Palace. 宁安如梦. Author, Shi Jing. Chapter 21. Youfang, Yin's Boss. The price of the zither was 3,000 taels, and Yanlin paid without even batting an eye. It is evident that the Marquis of Yongyi's mansion was wealthy. In the past, she was ignorant and didn't know that Yanlin treated her well, and she enjoyed Yanlin's kindness to her as a matter of course. But after she was reborn, she realized she was not worthy of the boy's sincere love, and she should not take his kindness for granted. She shouldn't have accepted this zither. But when she was about to refuse and asked Tanger to pay with a banknote, Jiang Xuening suddenly hesitated for a moment. With a change of heart, she suppressed her previous thoughts and silently accepted the zither. Lu Xian collected the money and counted the banknotes one by one with a smile on his face. He only said to Yanlin, "I know that the young Marquis is the most generous. There are so many customers in the capital, and I, Lu Zhaoyin, am most happy to see you. Come often in the future. You must know that the zither is an addictive thing. If you like it, you will want more. If learning to play the zither is not enough, you will learn to make zithers. Come to me, I will give you whatever you want. I promise that the young Marquis will not make a wasted trip." Yanlin rolled his eyes. Jiang Xuening was stunned, almost unable to believe her ears. Lu Zhaoyin. Isn't that Lu Xian, one of Shui Wei's most capable party members when he later launched the palace coup? Yanlin was in charge of the troops, and Lu Xian was in charge of the money. Later, Yanlin was the commander of the imperial army, and Lu Xian was promoted by Shui Wei during her confinement in the palace. He became the first scholar to engage in business, and then become an official, and became the new Minister of Revenue. In order to save her life in the previous life, Yo Fanyin donated 80% of her wealth to the imperial court to fill the national treasury, and it was this person who took care of it. When they first entered the Yo Huang pavilion, Yanlin never introduced the owner. It was not until Lu Xian accidentally revealed his name that Jiang Xuening felt a chill run down her spine and caught a glimpse of something that Yanlin had not seen. Looking at Lu Xian at this time, the feeling was completely different. Just now, she just felt that this man's words were bold and presumptuous, and his business was very interesting. Looking at it now, she felt that this bold and presumptuous man may not be without a bit of arrogance and based on his talent, and his detachment that made it seem as if he was the sober one when everyone was drunk. After Lu Xian finished counting the banknotes, he nodded with satisfaction and put the banknotes into his pocket skillfully. "The number is correct." Yanlin said casually, "Then we'll take our leave." A big business worth 3,000 taels does not come along every day. Lu Xian vividly demonstrated the shrewdness of a seasoned businessman. With a big smile on his face, he personally escorted the two of them to the door. Jiang Xuening followed Yanlin and carried the zither downstairs. Unexpectedly, someone came up quickly from downstairs and bumped into them. At first glance, it was Jian Shu, who was often next to Shui Wei. Her eyelids twitched. Jian Shu often followed Shui Wei and had good swordsmanship. Yanlin had met him and knew him. When he saw him, he said, "Master Shui has asked you to run errands again." Jian Shu saluted him and smiled. "That's right." After saying that, he turned his head and saw Jiang Xuening following him. He was about to continue walking up, and stopped and greeted her. "Hello, Miss Ning." Jiang Xuening was slightly startled and nodded in return. When Yanlin heard this, he suddenly raised his eyebrows, sensing something subtle, and looked at Jian Shu with a slightly strange look. "What's Miss Ning?" But Jian Shu didn't seem to notice anything was wrong. He said a greeting and hurried upstairs. In the Youhuang pavilion, Lu Xian was about to close the door and pour himself a glass of wine to celebrate selling such an expensive zither, but as soon as he put his hands on the door, he saw Jian Shu coming over. The corners of his eyes twitched, and he immediately quickened his movements to close the door. Unexpectedly, Jian Shu was quicker and stepped forward and stuck his palm in the crack of the door. He smiled at Lu Xian and said, "It's still daylight. Why is Mr. Lu in such a hurry to close the door?" Lu Xian cursed in his heart. "Those who practice martial arts are really strong with thick skin. How come I didn't pinch you to death?" But his face was full of surprise, as if he had just seen Jian Shu, and he smiled very warmly. "Ah, Jian Shu, I didn't see you there. How about your family?" "Your master's zither got broken. Is he still mad at home?" Jian Shu couldn't help but frown. "Don't worry about it, Mr. Lu." Lu Xian's expression of gloating appeared again. "What do you want to buy?" Jian Shu said, "I'm not buying anything. I have something to do." When Lu Xian heard this, his expression changed, and he immediately tried to push out the hand that was blocking the door, and said bluntly, "I don't have money. You can leave now." Jian Shu didn't move at all. Didn't young Marquis Yan just leave? Lu Xian lied without blinking. The zither was not worth anything. Jian Shu smiled coldly and actually put his hand down, pretending to leave. "Then I will go back and tell the master that there was a misstatement in your account of 5,000 taels from 3 months ago." "Hey, hey, hey, I have money, I have money!" Lu Xian quickly grabbed him without saying anything and dragged him into the house. "Really? You are so young. What's the point of imitating Shi Juans at being mature, even if you can be as mature as Dao Qin? It's not a good habit to threaten people with money all the time. Tell me, what's the matter?" Jian Shu was obviously used to Lu Xian's character. Knowing that the matter was urgent, he didn't delay and said concisely, "A ship capsized on the Cow River." Lu Xian was suddenly shocked. "What ship?" Jian Shu said, "Silk ship." Lu Xian's eyes lit up. "When?" Jian Shu said, 3 days ago. The news came urgently, and few people in the capital know about it." Lu Xian immediately clapped his hands and laughed. "Good." Jian Shu said, "Master said that recently the silk merchants in the capital united together to drive down the price of silk. Now that the ship transporting silk to the capital on the Caohe River has capsized, the price of raw silk in the capital will definitely increase. If you can buy raw silk at a low price before the news spreads and sell it after the news spreads and the price of silk increases, you can make a lot of money." But many merchants couldn't bear the price reduction recently, and most of them have sold the raw silk in their hands. I'm afraid there won't be much left in the market. Lu Xian thought for a while and went through the names of all the merchants in the capital, and smiled with a gleam in his eyes and said, "Yes, there is one more." When Xu Wenyi saw You Fangyin walking in, he was startled by her haggard appearance. "You haven't slept well in a few days, haven't you? Someone quickly bring Miss Yo a cup of hot tea." You Fangyin rubbed her eyes and sat down. The waiter below immediately brought the tea and couldn't help but glance at her a few times with a hint of worry hidden in his eyes. This place was a guest room in the Jiangsu and Zhejiang Guild Hall. It was set up by merchants from the Jiangsu and Zhejiang Merchant Guild to accommodate merchants from Jiangsu and Zhejiang provinces who came to the capital to stay and discuss business. Xu Wenyi was a silk merchant from Nangshun, Suzhou. He went to the capital 2 months ago because the big silk merchants in Jiangsu and Zhejiang areas united together to lower the retail price of raw silk, which made the silkworm farmers dissatisfied. They, the small and medium-sized merchants who made a living by selling silk, had no way to survive, so they had to go north. Who would have thought that the big merchants in the capital and the big merchants in Jiangsu and Zhejiang were colluding with each other? In addition, there were too many small and medium-sized merchants entering the capital. The price of silk has fallen further instead of rising. It was only half of last year's market price. Not to mention making money, even the cost price paid to the silkworm farmers was not enough. Xu Wenyi was 36 years old this year. Even if he didn't have a beard, some traces of weathering could be seen on his face, and there were fine wrinkles at the corners of his eyes. Not to mention that the price of silk had not increased in the past few days. He was stranded in the capital, sleeping today, but not knowing whether the sun will rise tomorrow. He really felt like he was being burned in a frying pan every day. Even his eyes revealed a deep sense of depression and anxiety. His fortune and life were all in this business. Last year, he lost a lot of money when he sold salt. This year, he couldn't even get the money to buy silk from silkworm farmers. Fortunately, he was a local businessman in Nangshan and had been dealing with local silkworm farmers for several years. Everyone knew that the market was not good this year. But they were willing to trust him, so they only took a 10% deposit from him, handed over all the raw silk produced this year, and asked him to go to the capital to sell it at a good price and then return to pay the balance. In business, everyone exchanges money and goods. But the silkworm farmers in his hometown were willing to give the goods first and then collect the money later. Xu Wenyi was a conscientious businessman and was unwilling to betray the trust of the folks behind him. But God knows how desperate he was when he came to the capital and asked around about the market price of raw silk. 11 days ago, after the festival, he was stranded in the capital and could barely afford the money to stay in the guild hall. Finally, he felt that he couldn't bear it anymore, and he just wanted to sell half a boatload of raw silk in his hand. It didn't matter if the price was low, how much could he get back? He would get as much as he could and take it back to his hometown first. As for the part that was not enough, he could only owe it first and slowly find ways to make up for it. But at this moment, in such a desperate situation, Yao Fangyin appeared and gave him a new hope. This girl was still wearing a mourning hat when she came that day, and her eyes were red. Xu Wenyi was startled, and he thought something had happened, and she came to ask for help. But he didn't expect that she took out 400 taels directly from her purse and told him that she wanted to buy silk. Xu Wenyi had lived half his life and had never seen such a customer before. He was stunned for a moment and couldn't react for a long time. Seeing that this girl didn't look rich or noble, nor did she look like the daughter of a merchant family, so he was really puzzled. He was so eager to sell the raw silk at the time that he didn't ask any questions and sold some to her at the then market price. But Yao Fangyin only had 400 taels of silver, which was really a drop in the bucket for his boatload of raw silk. After the money was paid, Xu Wenyi couldn't hold back his curiosity and asked her, "The price of raw silk on the market is so low now, and it may continue to fall depending on the situation. You are a girl who can't even read an account book. 400 taels of raw silk is not a small amount. What are you going to do after buying it?" Yao Fangyin actually replied, "Wait until the price rises in half a month before selling it." Xu Wenyi was shocked at that time, and 1,000 thunders roared in his head, and when he saw her about to leave after answering, he surprisingly lost his composure and chased after her. Even his voice was trembling. "Miss, how dare you say such a thing?" The girl from the Yao family looked at him blankly. Yes, as if she was frightened by his ferocious expression. "After a while," she said bluntly, "the person who gave me the money said it." Xu Wenyi was even more shocked. "The girl has a boss?" Yo Fanyin looked at him at that time, seemed to think for a while, and felt that this word was appropriate, so she nodded and said, "Yes. She told me to take the money and buy raw silk today, and if I sell it half a month later, I can make 3 times the profit." Xu Wenyi immediately took a breath of cold air. Wouldn't that be double the market price last year and 4 times the current market price? Who was Yo Fanyin's boss? How dares she say such a thing? Xu Wenyi, who had been in business for many years, realized that he might have encountered a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He had always done business by buying low, selling high, and making a living from the price difference. Prices change with the market, so it is extremely important to be well informed in the business world. People who have access to information that others don't know can often thrive here, catching opportunities that people with stagnant information will never be able to catch in their lifetime. Yo Fangyin, or the boss behind Yo Fangyin, was probably the one who had the information. Although he didn't know why she only spent 400 taels of silver after having such information, but now that he encountered this opportunity, Xu Wenyi could not persuade himself to give up no matter what. He decided to take a risk. If the price of silk really rose after half a month, it would be a life-saving opportunity for him. If the price of silk does not rise but falls after half a month, how far can it fall compared to now? And how much worse can his situation be than it is now? So just take a big gamble. Xu Wenyi used the 400 taels of silver paid by Yo Fangyin to secure passage for his ship at the docks. He also paid for the rent at the guild hall for half a month. He simply gave up the idea of selling raw silk at a low price and asked someone to buy a set of high-quality study tools, an abacus, and several account books that he had used before, and gave them to Yo Fangyin. Together they waited for the day when the price of raw silk would increase. During this period of time, Xu Wenyi also tried to ask indirectly about the identity of the boss behind her. But Yo Fangyin was very tight-lipped at this time and never mentioned it. If asked why the price increased, Yo Fangyin only said, "I don't know. My boss never mentioned it." At this moment, Xu Wenyi sat opposite her, looking at her bloodshot eyes, counting the time with his fingers, and finally sighed. He sighed, "There are only 4 days left." Instead of rising, the price of silk fell. Yo Fangyin had just come out from a trading house and asked about the price. She knew it in her heart, but she was not good at dealing with people. She didn't know how to respond to this sentence. She was stiff and reserved, holding the teacup tightly with both hands, and drank tea in silence. This behavior simply made people frustrated. Xu Wenyi smiled bitterly and said, "Miss Yo said before that these 400 taels of silver are all your savings. Now that the price of silk has not risen, are you not afraid of losing this money and your boss will blame you?" Yo Fangyin thought for a while. "If I lose money, I will return it back to her when I save enough." Of the 400 taels of silver, 350 taels were given by the second lady. Although she didn't know why the second girl wanted to save her or why she gave her money, a drop of kindness should be repaid by a spring. In the past 18 years, she had never encountered anything like this, nor had she met such a good person, and she didn't know why she looked at her with teary eyes. After thinking about it for a long time, she didn't know how to repay her. But the second lady taught her how to do business. Maybe, if the business was successful and she made a lot of money and presented it all to her, the second lady would be happy, right? Xu Wenyi didn't know what she was thinking and was stunned after hearing this. After a moment, he shook his head helplessly, This girl was really devoted to her employer. The money was originally given by the employer, and the things were done by the employer. All the profits and losses belong to the employer. How can she still ask to return it to her when she loses the money? He asked someone to bring up the prepared account book. This is a new account book prepared for the girl. I have asked my accountant to mark it. It will be easier for the girl to read and understand better. But the girl always stays up late to read the account books. Isn't it harmful to her health? It is more appropriate. Yofanin came today just to get the account books. When she collected the account books with both hands, she quickly thanked him immediately and said softly, "The mansion has been keeping me under strict supervision recently, and I may not be able to come out in the next few days. If Boss Su doesn't see me in 4 days, please help me sell the raw silk first." Shu Wenyi said, "It's not too late, or too late. 4 days later? What if it goes up again?" Yo Fangyin shook his head. "The boss said to sell it then." Shu Wenyu froze for a moment before agreeing. After sending Yo Fangyin away, he sat down again and sighed deeply. The employee behind him frowned, always full of doubts about this matter. "Boss, I see that the girl has a knot in her head. She looks like a fool no matter what. With such a good thing, why doesn't her boss do it himself or let us do it?" Shu Wenyi gritted his teeth, his eyes full of determination. "We've already made the bet, don't mention it again. I think the bosses she mentioned is not a liar. If she lied, she would have covered it up properly. She wouldn't be so shy as to not mention it." He closed his eyes and opened them again. At this time, there was already suppressed anger and sadness in his eyes. "Besides, if I really go back with the little money I sold at a low price, how will I face the trust and entrustment of the silkworm farmers in the village? After autumn and winter, they have to prepare mulberry silkworms next year. If they don't have money, do you want them to eat the northwest wind?" The man didn't dare to say anything anymore. Shu Wenyi calmed down after saying this. He was about to ask him to go out to explore the situation again. Unexpectedly, there was a knock on the half-open door outside. There was actually a scholar standing outside, bowing to him inside the room. He cupped his hands and said, "Is this Mr. Shu Wenyi from Nangshun, Suzhou?" Shu Wenyi felt that he looked unfamiliar and asked, "Please come in, who are you?" The scholar was naturally Lu Xian. When he came in, he saw that the tea on his table had not been removed. He knew that there was a visitor before, but he didn't ask, and directly stated the purpose of his visit. "My surname is Lu, and my given name is Xian. I heard that Boss Shu has a boat of raw silk that has not been sold yet. I came here today to do business with you and buy this boatload of silk." Shu Wenyi's heart suddenly skipped a beat, and he even stopped breathing, but his face remained calm. "What's your price?" "Lu Xian, it's the market price." Shu Wenyi couldn't figure out where he came from, so he just said, "I'm not selling at the market price." Lu Xian raised his eyebrows and suddenly felt that the situation was different from what he thought. "Isn't it true that Boss Shu's silk can't be sold?" Shu Wenyi said, "It can't be sold now, but there are people like you who come with a lot of money to buy. Who knows if the price will rise in a few days?" Lu Xian's pupils shrank slightly. He realized that things were not simple, but smiled. "You seem to know something." At this time, Shu Wenyi was sure that what Yo Fanyin's boss said was true. His whole face was flushed with excitement. But his voice still sounded serious and calm, and tears welled up in his eyes for a moment. He didn't know whether he was talking to Lu Xian or to himself. 11 days ago, someone came to buy a batch of raw silk from me. Her boss told her that the price would rise. When I saw Boss Lu coming today, I knew I made the right bet. Bang! Lu Xian kicked open the door of Zhuoqin Hall. Jian Shu, who was standing aside, almost drew his sword and struck at him. When he saw it was him, his eyes widened in surprise. However, Lu Xian walked in with a blue face. He picked up the teacup that had been brewing on the table and cooled it for a while before pouring it down his throat. When he put it down, the teacup hit the table with a shocking sound. On the ground next to the east wall of this zither-making hall, more than a dozen pieces of wood for zither-making were neatly lined up. Shi Wei, holding a brush in his hand and wearing a simple azure straight-sleeve robe, was standing there selecting them. He didn't wear a wide-sleeved robe, and he rolled up his sleeves to reveal his lean wrists. He turned around when he heard the noise. Seeing it was Lu Xian, his cold, long eyebrows wrinkled unconsciously, and said, "Didn't succeed?" Lu Xian said, "Half success, but I saw a ghost today. Shi Juan, tell me honestly, when did the silk boat on the Shaohe River happen? When was the news first spread to the capital? Who knew about it?" Shi Wei turned back to look at the wood. He turned over the piece of paulownia wood in the middle and said, "Didn't Jian Shu tell you? The news of what happened 3 days ago had just arrived in the capital less than 2 hours ago. The only people who know about it are me, Jian Shu, you, and the messenger." Lu Xian said firmly, "Impossible. Someone had bought raw silk from Shu Wenyi 11 days ago and predicted that the price of silk would rise. I tried to inquire several times, but Shu Wenyi didn't say much. But after I came out, I asked people and found out that a girl had been in and out of the guild hall in the past few days, and she seems to be discussing business with him. Who do you think this girl is? There is a concubine's daughter in the Qingyuan mansion that no one has ever heard of, named You Fangyin. There seems to be a boss, but I haven't found out who it is. If the silk boat was on the river 3 days ago, how could this person know about it 8 days in advance?" Shi Wei fingers, stroking the piece of paulownia wood that he was going to choose for the zither surface, paused. After hearing what Lu Xian said, he easily realized that there was something strange about the matter, but he didn't ask first. Instead, he said, "Why did you say it was a half success?" Lu Xian almost choked to death from his question. He held his breath before answering. "Su Wenyi is a wise man. He seems to have guessed that my background was not ordinary. After all, the people who can get this kind of news first in the capital are not easy to offend. He wants to form a good relationship with me, but he was also afraid that if there was a chance that the price of silk did not rise in a few days, he won't have money to return. So, he sold me half a boatload of silk at last year's market price." Shi Wei said, "That's fine. Silkworm farmers in Jiangsu and Zhejiang are suffering this year. We are not just trying to make money, so it doesn't matter if we earn less. Lu Xian is a money grubber." He couldn't help but knock his fingers hard on the table. "Shi Juan, you have to understand, this matter is very serious. Something was going to happen to the silk boat on the Shaohe River. How could You Fang's boss predict it in advance? Since he allowed You Fang to buy silk, he might have secretly bought more raw silk at a low price. It is very possible that the accident on the silk boat on the Shaohe River was related to this person. I don't believe in such things as foreknowledge. Either it was an accident or there was a conspiracy. No matter whether this person is in the court or in the opposition, I am afraid he's not a simple person. I think this matter cannot be abandoned. We must know who You Fang's boss is." Shi Wei hadn't planned to let it slide either. He was more concerned about whether the deal was done or not. At this moment, his face was indifferent, showing neither joy nor anger. He only lowered his eyes and said, "It is indeed not to be underestimated. Since we don't know who this person is, then ask someone to check the illegitimate daughter of the Earl's mansion." This person must have had contact with her and had some relationship with Cowhay River, and he didn't dare to do things openly. He might be a low-ranking official. The scope is small, and it would be easy to investigate. Lucian thought so too, but they soon discovered that things were not as easy as they thought. Thank you for listening to this chapter. For advance releases of upcoming chapters, you can join me on Patreon. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more chapters, and kindly support this channel on Ko-Fi. The link is in the description below.